And before we get to our top story here on 5 Live, let me give you the facts, the figures on the COVID-19 fight overall. You've just heard the Health Ministry, remember, give us some very good news. 80% of COVID-19 cases are currently recovering. That's the total number that we have right now. 13,387 cases and 437 deaths so far. A quick recap of the states that are affected the most at this time. Maharashtra has a total of 3,205 cases. 194 people have died in that state. It still tops on both those indexes. Delhi has a total of 1,640 cases with 38 deaths so far. Tamil Nadu is in the number 3 position with 1,267 cases with 15 deaths so far. So these are the 3 top states as we speak, and this is data updated until 4:30 p.m. today. So it's the very latest authenticated information. Now let's go straight to our top story. I've been waiting to bring you this story because this is something that has angered people across party lines and across the country. With India under lockdown, the government has set very specific and strict rules and guidelines. But this story from Bengaluru shows these rules and guidelines only apply to you and me and not to the rich and powerful, and certainly not to state politicians. They're not the same for everyone. Karnataka's ex-Chief Minister HD Kumaraswamy got VVIP permissions to conduct the marriage ceremony of his son Nikhil to a person called Revathi in Bengaluru. They tried to propagate in the media that they had drastically cut down on celebrations and were being very responsible. But take a look at this report and see just what a shameful nataka of the lockdown rules they've actually made possible.
Amid the nationwide lockdown, a wedding ceremony complete with all finery being held near Bengaluru. But this is no ordinary wedding. This is the VVIP wedding of former Karnataka Chief Minister HD Kumaraswamy's son Nikhil with Revathi, the grandniece of former State Congress Minister M. Krishnappa. Dressed in white, Nikhil and Revathi tied the knot between 9:20 and 9:50 a.m. as the Muhurat was set for this period. The venue was the Kumaraswamy family farmhouse in Ramanagara. And even though the former Karnataka Chief Minister had declared that it was going to be a low-key wedding because of the coronavirus pandemic, it seems this wedding was anything but that. There were violations galore at this VVIP wedding. None of the guests wore masks. Kumaraswamy claimed that he had planned to invite close to 5 lakh people. Thankfully, he cancelled the big bash, but there were still close to 100 people in attendance. This video of the groom Nikhil Kumaraswamy seated in a chair with guests and camera persons crowding around shows that social distancing norms were also not being followed. Another video, however, shows some guests sitting with chairs apart.
Particularly, this issue was in limelight. Even after a lot of warning and intimation, if any kind of violation has happened, we need to find out, and suitable action will be taken against the concerned people.
The high-profile political wedding also saw at least 21 cars carrying guests to the wedding venue. When movement on roads is blocked due to the lockdown, why was special permission given for these VIP guests?
40 to 50 relatives of their family had attended the wedding. In India, it is customary to bless the couple. In India, we bless the couple. Let us not criticize. And if at all media and people from opposition want to do politics, let us do politics some other time. And today is the time to bless and fight COVID.
India has been under lockdown for 24 days now. Citizens have been asked to strictly follow all safety precautions. But do the same rules not apply to India's VIPs? With Nagarjun Dwarkanath and Nolan Pinto, Bureau Report, India Today.
So while this VIP Kumaraswamy family shamelessly acquires the permission to conduct this ceremony and wants people of Karnataka to think, oh, we are very simple people, this is not a big wedding, we have only taken 60 to 70 people, 30 people from both sides, please don't judge us, we have not done anything wrong. Take a look at the pictures, ladies and gentlemen. Are we stupid? Are we idiots? Or are these the Covidiots of this country who believe that the real rules only apply to people like us and don't apply to people like them? Look at these examples of people across the country, ladies and gentlemen, of families who have put off their wedding ceremonies. Let's put that window back on our screens right now. Have put off their Indian weddings simply because they have no choice but to follow the rules that have been imposed by the government. These are good Indians who have postponed their wedding ceremonies, conducted their Sangeet ceremonies on Zoom or Skype, who are conducting their marriage rituals over the phone line, over having small ceremonies where nobody is present, like you can see there in Bengal, where only the bride and groom are present. Both of them are wearing face masks and nothing else is happening. These are the true Indians who are following all the rules, who are following all the laws and having the decency and respect not to cut corners and not to endanger this country. On the other hand, you have people like the Kumaraswamis who without shame have tried to paint themselves as responsible and yet conducted a VVIP ceremony. And that brings me to the big questions I'm asking today on 5 Live. I don't care if nobody else wants to ask these questions, but a former Chief Minister of Karnataka has acquired permission through the Karnataka government, which itself has not covered itself in any glory when it comes to lockdown violations, and made this VIP wedding possible, which is an insult to the people of Karnataka and the insult to the people of India. Question number 1 I'm asking today on 5 Live. Why no masks or social distancing at Nikhil Revathi wedding? In some pictures you can see people sitting in chairs apart, but what about these pictures? Look at how people are crowding around each other there. Question number 2, why was permission given? Who are these people to get permission for multiple guests to break the lockdown orders, come in separate cars and come for this wedding ceremony? Who are these people? Question number 3, the state government itself is guilty of violations, and therefore is it helping other VIPs because they don't want anybody to ask questions to them? We are going to ask you questions. Just wait and watch. Question number 4. Has Chief Minister Yediyurappa insulted his voters, insulted the people of Karnataka's public by allowing this mockery of the public, this wedding, this VVIP wedding? By allowing it, has Yediyurappa basically shown the finger to Karnataka's public? Question number 5. Is this VIP ceremony an insult to all people who are respecting the law, couples who've postponed their marriage celebrations? Is this an insult to every single one of those people? I want to go across to India today's Nagarjun Dwarkanath, who joins me live. Nagarjun, I know that the Kumaraswamis wanted everyone to believe that they have been, extremely responsible, that they have been extremely, good and decent by not holding a massive wedding. But the images that have come out from this wedding suggest that all manner of permissions have been showered on this family so they can hold this wedding.
That is true, Shiv. In fact, what was even more shocking was the nexus between the government and the host. The police had a list of series of cars with registration numbers with them, and only those cars would be allowed to cross from Bangalore to Ramanagara. How did this car list go to the police department? And police, why were they escorting the smooth transfer of the guests to the wedding?
Stay with me for a second. Stay with me for a second. I have Malavika Avinash of the BJP with me. Malavika, why has permission been given for this wedding? Thousands of people are suffering. Thousands of people are postponing their weddings. The Kumaraswamy family has made it seem like, we are being very simple. We are not calling people. There are so many people at this wedding. There is no social distancing. Nobody is wearing a mask. Why did the BJP government give these people permission for this? Malavika? Okay, Malavika can't hear me, I think. So I'll try and get her back on the line because we're going to ask questions. We don't care who this is. We're going to ask the questions here on 5 Live. Nagarjun, you were telling us about the permissions that have been showered on the Kumaraswamis.
So this wouldn't have happened without the nexus of the permission with the government, that the Ramanagara district SP had a clear list of numbers of cars which were entering from Bangalore. There was someone from the Kumaraswamy team at the checkpost telling the police, you allow this car, you allow this car. These cars didn't even have curfew passes and they were doing intra-district travel. And look at us, the media also were stopped. Bank employees were stopped. The police had given clear-cut instructions that till 10 o'clock, till the Muhurat is over, no one should be allowed. The highway was empty, even though the food trucks and milk trucks were waiting in queue to cross the checkpost, but luxury high-end cars without any curfew passes were allowed to enter. The big question is, why did the government allow this to happen? Why did the media was stopped entering Ramanagara district? Because they knew that if media would go, they would clearly show the violations that took place. And look at the pictures that we are speaking about. These are grand celebrations that is happening. The lightings, the flower decoration, the chair arrangements. This is not any simple wedding that we are speaking about.
And Nagarjun, has the government said anything about, when these pictures came out, I can count the number of violations on my hands. Is the government planning to investigate any possible violations?
The government at this point of time has only said that they would seek a report from the DCA and SP, clearly an eyewash comment coming from the government. If they were serious enough, why did the police have the list of cars that were entering the Ramanagara district without their permission? It was without the government permission. This wouldn't have happened because no one would brazenly do it out in the open without government permission. It was an eyewash comment is what I feel that Deputy Chief Minister came out and said that they would seek a report, and if the report mentions any violations, they would take action against it, clearly just brushing it aside.
Okay, I just want to show you these two images that we have also. On the left-hand side, in just a moment, I'm going to have this two window of images on your screen to show you the contrast between what is happening with the Kumaraswamis and the action that has been taken in another case in Karnataka. Let's put those pictures on our screen so I can describe them for our viewers. On the left-hand side of your screen, okay, these are images of the Kumaraswamy wedding. And on the right-hand side of your screen, you can see a chariot ceremony that was conducted at the Siddhalingeshwara temple in Kalaburgi district in Karnataka. The right-hand side violation has seen very quick police action. 20 people have been booked, an FIR has been lodged, people have been named, and the police is taking action in that case. My question now is, if the police can show alacrity for these lockdown violators, these shameful lockdown violators in Kalaburgi, in Karnataka, why can't people be arrested from the Kumaraswamy wedding? Who are they to violate lockdown rules? Who are they to get special permissions from the government in this regard? That is the big question that I want to ask here on 5 Live. And Nagarjun raised a very important point. Isn't it going to be eyewash, ladies and gentlemen, if the government says they are seeking a report? Because believe me, and now you're going to watch in the report I have for you, how the Yediyurappa government itself is completely tainted when it comes to sticking to lockdown rules. Chief Minister himself has mocked his own directions as far as safety are concerned. Multiple MLAs, multiple leaders, even a minister have mocked the suffering of people by breaking lockdown rules. Take a look at this report. We feel your rage watching these images of ex-Karnataka Chief Minister Kumaraswamy's son getting married today in Bengaluru. But should you really be surprised? Kumaraswamy, former Chief Minister of the state, may now be an opposition leader. But is this a case of VIPs protecting and facilitating each other and issuing special permissions? There are already at least 4 examples of the ruling party either brazenly violating lockdown orders, or mocking its own appeals for social distancing, or facilitating VIP movements, or being plain insensitive to those suffering in the state. On March the 15th, just after issuing orders restricting large gatherings like weddings, Chief Minister Yediyurappa himself attended a Belagavi wedding where around 2,000 guests were present. He was accompanied by several BJP leaders. This month, BJP MLA M. Jairam cut a cake to celebrate his birthday with a large crowd of locals in Tumkur. Amazingly, the FIR registered in the case doesn't even name him. And in the latest example of VIP privilege, Andhra MLA Burra Madhusudan Yadav was allowed to travel in a large convoy with 40 family members from Bengaluru to Andhra's Prakasam district. While the family members were turned back, why was such a large convoy allowed to travel 125 kilometers unchecked from Bengaluru to the border? Put these pieces together and you begin to understand why permissions have been so easily granted to the Kumaraswamy family. In Karnataka, unless the state cracks down without exception, VIP privilege under the corona lockdown is a clear case of the powerful facilitating their own. Bureau Report, India Today. And we've got some breaking news coming in now. This is pretty disturbing. Terrorists in Pakistan occupied are infected with COVID-19. This after intelligence agencies have intercepted one terrorist's call to his father last week, revealing that he has been infected with COVID-19. It's been revealed during the call interception that terror groups are trying to send terrorists into Kashmir when they are infected with COVID-19. Army Chief General Manoj Naravane, who is in Jammu and Kashmir as we speak, has said that Pakistan is busy exporting terrorists into India while the entire world is suffering from COVID-19. And intelligence agencies have intercepted a call that brings in a disturbing new twist that terrorist groups may be deliberately infiltrating COVID-19 positive individuals as terrorists into Kashmir.
एलसी के ऊपर ही नहीं लेकिन हिंटरलैंड में भी टेररिस्ट की ये कार्रवाइयाँ जारी है। इसी महीने में 5 तो उग्रवादी टेररिस्ट हमने उस पहले ऑपरेशन में मारे, 4 एक दूसरे ऑपरेशन में, और आज ही 2 अलग अलग ऑपरेशन में 4 और टेररिस्ट मारे गए हैं। तो कुल मिलाकर 13 के करीब टेररिस्ट आधे महीने में, अप्रैल के आधे महीने में ही हमने मारे हैं। तो इस किस्म की कार्रवाइयाँ जारी है जो पाकिस्तान सपोर्ट कर रहा है। और एक तरफ से जैसे आपने कहा, ना सिर्फ भारत लेकिन पूरी दुनिया इस महामारी से निपट रहा है, इसके खिलाफ लड़ रहा है। और बाकियों के देश को मदद करने के लिए हमने मेडिकल टीम भी भेजे हैं, कुवैत में भेजा है, मालदीव्स में भेजा है, नेपाल को हमने दवाइयाँ भेजी है, बाकी देशों को भी हमने मेडिसिन एक्सपोर्ट किए हैं। तो इतने सारे हम मदद कर रहे हैं, लेकिन पाकिस्तान सिर्फ टेरर को एक्सपोर्ट कर रहा है।
Gaurav Sawant is live with us. Gaurav, how much credence is being paid to this? Intelligence agencies suggesting that terror groups might be using COVID-19 as some kind of a weapon in Jammu and Kashmir. Is this true?
Shiv, there is clear and present danger, and there is no denying the fact that in Pakistan, coronavirus pandemic is not being checked in the manner in which it's being dealt with in India. Look at the quarantine that's happening in India. Look at the lockdown that's happening in India. And look at the rapid spread of coronavirus in Pakistan. Also the fact that this is a phone call conversation that's been intercepted by the intelligence agencies. It's been shared with other police agencies across Jammu and Kashmir, and is also being shared with locals, Shiv, because the effort is to tell the locals that there is clear and present danger that they could get infected, the guides could be infected, and the guides, when they bring these terrorists into villages, they could get infected, and if not from terrorist bullets, they could die of COVID-19. That is why they need to be careful. And Shiv, there's been a spurt in infiltration attempts. As the Chief of the Army Staff mentioned, 5 terrorists killed in Kupwara Kheran sector. That happened just today. 4 terrorists have been killed in 2 different encounters. One in Kishtwar, the other in Shopia. There have been 2 other encounters, and there are intelligence inputs of more infiltration attempts that are taking place, or people who've moved out of launch pads. So yes, there is a cause for very serious concern. The Army, Shiv, as you well know better, has now come out with new standard operating procedures in dealing with bodies of dead terrorists. What does this mean? It means that the Army soldiers will not touch bodies of dead soldiers, dead terrorists. There's a new protocol that's been put in place, and only according to that protocol will they deal with the bodies, Shiv.
Very interesting developments, Gaurav, and I'm sure this is something that's going to get more information going forward. The army chief is still in J&K. Earlier today, he visited some of the forward areas in North Kashmir as well. Gaurav will be bringing you many more details on that story at 10 p.m. tonight on India First. Gaurav, thank you very much for that. We've got more breaking news coming in. Okay, big update. Listen very carefully, ladies and gentlemen. A day after India's Home Ministry issued an advisory warning against the security threat posed by video conferencing app Zoom and banning its use by government agencies and individuals, Zoom has now issued a statement in response saying that the platform takes user security extremely seriously and that a large number of global institutions have done exhaustive security reviews of this app. So the Home Ministry's advisory warning against the security flaws of Zoom and basically, for all practical purposes, banning its use by government agencies has gotten the American company to issue a statement saying that Zoom is safe and that it has been reviewed by many global institutions. I want to go across to India Today's Kamaljeet Sandhu, who covers internal security for India. Kamaljeet, Zoom has been, found countrywide and global adoption under the lockdown. It is one of India's most downloaded apps as well. Clearly, the company has now put out a statement after the Home Ministry had advised against using Zoom.
Oh, well, yes, Zoom has tried to allay fears, especially regarding the security of data and what the advisory of Home Ministry really has to say. And it has also pointed out that a large number of global institutions, and it says ranging from the world's largest financial services companies, telecommunication providers, to the NGOs and government agencies have done exhaustive security reviews of the user, network, data center layers, and has continued to use Zoom for most of their unified communication needs. So in that sense, they've said that people should continue to use their application. However, the MHA guidelines is particularly for individuals and says that they need to follow guidelines if they want to continue to use Zoom. This is obviously fearing that there are apprehensions, especially just before the MHA advisory. The CERT-in, which is the Computer Emergency Response System of India, has also issued two similar advisories, one in Feb and one in March. But you would also recall, Shiv, that a similar advisory was in place as far as TikTok is concerned before it became very widely used. And that time also a similar advisory came in place, and later on the matter went to the court. However, TikTok continues to be used, and even today, Zoom is one of the popular applications where there is multiple users who can use a common platform of video conferencing on that application. So yes, I think the advisory itself is very generic in nature. It cautions the users about how there could be extra people who could be in that conference, and they need to be wary of that.
We've seen many government agencies in India using Zoom, especially during the early part of this lockdown. We'll have to see whether compliance is being followed following that Home Ministry advisory, and now Zoom has come out to say we are safe. Let's see if the government has any kind of clarification in response to.
Did the coronavirus escape from a Chinese lab? New US cables explode on China. Was an unsafe Wuhan laboratory breeding the coronavirus? Is China covering up the truth? Not wet markets, but a viral laboratory? What does China have to hide? New biolab theory rocks the world.
So all this while, the general belief has been that the coronavirus came because of the consumption of bats being sold in a wet market in Wuhan in China. And all through these few weeks, you've also seen a theory that's been lingering on the fringes of the debate that there could have been some kind of bioweaponry theory. China may have done this deliberately. Well, it's nothing that drastic, but some new US State Department cables are throwing a very glaring light on how China may be irresponsibly covering up the real truth of where the coronavirus came from. And it could be not from a wet market, but from a virology laboratory insecurely safeguarded in Wuhan. Did the novel coronavirus escape from a Chinese viral laboratory in Wuhan? You've probably heard this theory at least once since the outbreak began. Except now, the most powerful country in the world is officially investigating the possibility. A set of diplomatic cables accessed by US media paint a terrifying picture of an inadequately secured virology lab in Wuhan. The cables are talking about this facility, the Wuhan Institute of Virology, part of the Chinese government's larger Hubei Engineering and Technology Research Center for Viral Diseases. First, let's break down the explosive new developments in chronological order. After a visit to Wuhan in 2018, US science diplomats reported unsafe conditions at the Wuhan Virology Institute, deeming the bat research risky. Cut forward 2 years, and the cables are providing glaring clues into what may have happened. So far, the most commonly held belief is that the Wuhan virus came from one of the city's wet markets, likely from the sale and consumption of bats. The viral lab escape theory has now gained credence though, with American experts sniffing a massive Chinese cover-up centered around the Wuhan lab.
Well, sources are telling Fox News today that the United States government now has high confidence that while the coronavirus is a naturally occurring virus, it emanated from a virology lab in Wuhan, that because of lax safety protocols, an intern was infected, who later infected her boyfriend, and then went to the wet market in Wuhan, where it began to spread. Does that correspond with what you have heard from officials?
Well, I don't want to say that, John, but I will tell you more and more we're hearing the story, and we'll see. When you say multiple sources, now there's a case where you can use the word sources, but we are doing a very thorough examination of this horrible situation that happened.
According to US media reports, the virus is believed to have jumped from a bat to a lab employee in Wuhan who later spread the virus across the city. The theory suggests China's ruthless competitiveness has driven it to research bat viruses without adequate safeguards, and that the coronavirus may have been transmitted to a lab employee who then disseminated it to Wuhan's public.
China's position with regard to the origin and transmission routes of the novel coronavirus is clear. It is a matter of science on which we should only rely on the findings of scientists and medical experts. I would like to remind you that the WHO has repeatedly stated that there is no evidence showing the virus was made in a lab. Many renowned medical specialists in the world have also debunked the lab leakage theory, as it is not science-based at all.
There's a lot of rumor and speculation in a wide variety of media, the blog sites, etc. It should be no surprise to you that we've taken a keen interest in that, and we've had a lot of intelligence take a hard look at that. And I would just say at this point, it's inconclusive, although the weight of evidence seems to indicate natural. But we don't know for certain.
The US cables also cast a glare on Shi Zhengli, a Chinese virologist nicknamed Batwoman for her bat-centric research and fieldwork. The cables say her work was conducted with inadequate protection. Xi's team was the first to reveal in February that the new outbreak was a bat-derived coronavirus. As the world battles Covid-19, the US cables have major implications for global safety and amplify the glaring question, is China lying about the very origin of the coronavirus? And more importantly, will we ever know? Bureau Report, here today. And this is only the latest in a spate of questions that highlight China's credibility crisis through the COVID-19 pandemic. I want to highlight just the three latest ones. China, remember, has been trying to stall proceedings. And this is not something that we are saying. They've been stalling proceedings at the United Nations Security Council on the topic of COVID-19. The United Nations Security Council chief himself has just said that to India today in an exclusive interview. Point number two, under a huge number of sustained allegations that it is fudging data of the COVID-19's impact inside China, the country has now revised its death toll, especially in Wuhan, which has boosted the death toll figure in China up by 40%. That happened just this morning. China has also suppressed Taiwan's emails from way back that actually warned that human-to-human transmission of COVID-19 was in fact possible. The WHO ignored those emails under pressure from China because the WHO doesn't recognize Taiwan as a separate state. Geeta Mohan, our foreign affairs editor, who conducted that exclusive interview with the United Nations Security Council chief, is with me live. Geeta, massive credibility crisis, and on top of that, a full-blown investigation by the United States into China, obfuscating the possibility, not the reality, the possibility that the coronavirus came from a laboratory and not really from a wet market.
Well, Shiv, that's the reason why a lot of questions and demands for reforms of the United Nations Security Council. The fact that China can arm twist the whole of March when the world was asking for a discussion at the United Nations Security Council, there wasn't one. And as soon as the Dominican Republic took over presidency, the discussion took place at the United Nations Security Council. And while the world is trying to find out what the origins are, it certainly is a case in point wherein there is enough research and enough material to show that it was not a part of the wet markets that the origin of the virus is, that it could very well have been man-made. Although we know that the Chinese administration, including the Chinese embassy here in New Delhi, Shiv, has time and again come out and put out statements saying that it is not a man-made virus and that it is a natural virus. We'll have to wait and see what the conclusive evidences are really going to be. But for now, the UNSC finally has discussed the matter, and let's see where it's headed when it comes to accountability and answerability.
Incredibly glaring comment there from the United Nations Security Council chief to Geeta, saying that China has tried to derail or stop conversations on COVID-19 that were proposed at the United Nations Security Council level. Geeta, thank you very much for that. Here's a brand new Apache attack helicopter of the Indian Air Force had to make a precautionary emergency landing right in the middle of a farm field in Punjab's Hoshiarpur district, not very far from Pathankot, where these helicopters are based. The attack helicopter, which was recently inducted into the Air Force, made that precautionary landing after a critical failure of one of its systems. The warning alert had sounded in the cockpit, and the very professional pilots managed to land this brand new helicopter safely in the middle of a field. According to the Air Force, the Apache took off from Pathankot Air Base on a routine sortie, but the pilot had to make this emergency landing and did it using all the correct procedures in light of that critical failure. There is no damage to the helicopter, the crew, or any property on the ground. These are images straight from the site. I want to go across to Defense Editor Abhishek Bhalla for a quick update on this. Abhishek, a slightly alarming situation, but these kinds of things have been known to happen even with new equipment. Apparently some kind of a technical snag forcing this emergency landing. There was another emergency landing of a much older helicopter yesterday near Hindon as well. Do we know what happened in this case?
Well, Shiv, the Air Force has described it as a critical failure in the system. What we've got to know is that there was a technical glitch and an emergency landing was very, very important at that moment. And that's the reason why a bigger disaster has been prevented. Now, the Apache is, as we know, one of the most modern and new inductions into the Indian Air Force. It was inducted only last year in September. 8 Apache helicopters were inducted at that point of time. 22 will be coming over in the next 2 years. Fortunately, there was no damage either to the helicopter or any injuries to the crew in it.
Thanks, Abhishek. Thankfully, no damage done. And I just want to tell our viewers as well that these things do happen even with new equipment. There can be critical failures, but it's important to investigate what happened so this kind of thing is reduced going forward, and it's nothing more serious than just a routine technical failure. Abhishek, thank you very much. Okay, now when Prime Minister Modi addressed the nation a few days ago and listed those 7 tasks to fight COVID-19, remember he stressed how one must follow Ayush Ministry guidelines on immunity boosting. The Ayush Ministry has stressed on how this is a natural way to build immunity, not fight COVID-19, but build immunity. In times like these, keeping ourselves fit is important. Keeping fit using ancient Ayurvedic treatments is also an option you have. Here's how.
Enhancing the body's natural defense system plays an important role in maintaining optimum health. While there is no medicine for COVID-19 as of now, it is good to take preventive measures which boost your immunity in these times. There are several recommended measures by the Ayush Ministry.
We have to take a bold step. This is the right time. Ayurveda is older than traditional Chinese medicine. It's the oldest mother system of medicine in the world. We need to give it a fair chance, a scientific chance. Include it in the best interests of patients, in the best interests of society.
First up, they say drink enough warm water throughout the day. Secondly, practice yoga. Thirdly, include spices like turmeric, which is haldi, cumin, that is jeera, coriander, that is dhania, and garlic, that is lasun, in your food.
Remember to stay hydrated with lime water, regular water, tender coconut water, or even buttermilk. Remember to eat healthy seasonal fruits and vegetables. Always have meals on time and let it be warm, light, and easy to digest. Exercise regularly, do yoga to de-stress yourself. Sleep for 6 to 8 hours.
The Ayush Ministry has also suggested to take a spoonful of Chyawanprash in the morning. Diabetics should take sugar-free Chyawanprash. Next, the advisory says drink herbal tea, which is made from basil, that's tulsi, cinnamon, that is dalchini, black pepper, that is kali mirch, dry ginger, that is soot, and raisins, that's munakka, once or twice a day. Add jaggery or fresh lemon if you need. You can also have golden milk, that is haldi ka doodh. Take half teaspoon of haldi in 150 ml of hot milk and have it once or twice a day.
Whenever India has faced some kind of such diseases, Ayurveda has played an important role. So there is 2 parts to it. One is the immunity boosting part. Our Ayush Ministry and the Prime Minister and many other people are involved in this wonderful initiative which was taken a couple of weeks ago, and now there is a Ayush task force also, and Ayush Ministry has also issued some guidelines on how to go about preventing the disease.
If you're experiencing dry cough or sore throat, try steam inhalation with fresh pudina leaves, which is mint leaves, or ajwain, which is caraway seeds, according to the Ayush Ministry. You can also have lavang, which is clove powder, mixed with natural sugar or honey, and it can be taken 2 to 3 times a day. They've also gone ahead and added that it is best to consult doctors if any of your symptoms persist. None of this is a cure. The Ayush Ministry advisory does not claim to be a treatment for COVID-19. In New Delhi, this is Chaiti Narula for India Today.
Hi everyone, Preeti Chaudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.